How unbelievably good has our captain Martin Odegaard been, our number 8, our £35 million signing from Real Madrid, who is captaining Arsenal, I think, in his second full season. I wanted to do this video comparing him to 3 of the best creative midfielders I've seen at Arsenal. 3 of the best midfielders I've seen in my time at Arsenal. Because some people might look at this and go, James, why, the whole Rio Ferdinand quote, right? Just enjoy him. Why do we have to put players up against others and do these comparisons? And I see a lot of these videos kind of doing the trend, doing the rounds on YouTube. But I actually think there's no better compliment to Martin Odegaard than to pit him up against Mesut Ozil, Cesc Fabregas and Santi Cazorla to try and look at how he compares and talk about what he can achieve compared to what they achieved, and actually look at what he's already achieved in an Arsenal shirt. I was at the Porto game when it was a real struggle, it was a real battle, and everyone's technical level was kind of below average. The amazing standards that this great Arsenal group have set for themselves, except for Martin Odegaard's. His was up there, along with the work rate and everything else. And I felt there was no better time in this break between, Arsenal's big Premier League games, the Porto game, and of course the win against Brentford, to when we play Man City at the end of the month, to actually talk about how good this guy is. So let's not waste any more time. I want to show you firstly this list of creative midfielders that I've watched at Arsenal. I became a fan after the Champions League final. I've been honest about that. It was the first time I started supporting the club. So I was very young and I never watched the great Premier League sides, but what I did get was the start of this era that Arsene Wenger really started, and it kind of ran into an era of number 10s, and some of the creative midfielders I've seen are the likes of Alexander Hleb, Thomas Rosicky, Jack Wilshere, Andre Arshavin, Cesc Fabregas, Samir Nasri, Santi Cazorla, Mesut Ozil and Martin Odegaard. I've kind of squeezed Arshavin in there, but he could play as a 10. Now, the similarities between the 4 I've picked, Cazorla, Odegaard, Fabregas and Ozil, are that they mainly played as central players. A lot of the players I've got in that list before really played out wide, the likes of Rosicky, Hleb, Nasri. They really played as central players mainly. They were real main players in their team. Like when they were at Arsenal, they were at the very heart. They were key players and a key part of this side. They were the chief creators in the team, often looked at as the main players to make something happen. And they weren't really dribblers. Now, that's not to say they couldn't dribble. Cesc Fabregas, we know, could carry a ball. All of them could. Absolutely all of them could. And can in Odegaard. But they weren't really dribblers. You couldn't chuck them out wide and really kind of expect them to do a kind of different role out there unless Fabregas was playing for Spain, and quite frankly, they just play him anywhere to get him in the team. The differences for me are that Ozil was the only one who was really a 10, whereas the rest could play in central midfield. Cesc Fabregas would float from a 10 to a central midfielder in a 2, as he did for Chelsea, or as a 3. Cazorla played out wide quite a lot of times. But the big thing is also that they played in different eras and different times. I think that's important to remember as well. They played in kind of very different Arsenal teams, and that is kind of important to remember when we look at a lot of this other data. When we look at the time spent at the club for these 4, Fabregas was at the club 2003 to 2011, but worth noting that he didn't really become a first teamer till 2000 and the 04-05 season, where Arsenal were defending champions from the Invincibles. That was when he was starting to get minutes. Santi Cazorla from 2012 to 2018, but his last 2 seasons were riddled with really horrible injury problems. Mesut Ozil 2013 to 2021, and Martin Odegaard 2021 and still going. We got him on a loan deal before signing him permanently in the summer of 2021. Let's have a look at their output. I know you've got this far into the video and already going, great, thanks for all that, that's nice. Where is the output? Talk to us about that. Cool, I'll give it to you here. You've got the amount of games played, including their goals, assists, and goals and assists per game. Cesc Fabregas comes out with the best GA per game. The best output was 0.5, averaging a goal or assist every 2 games for Arsenal. Cazorla, not bad. Ozil, the second best to Fabregas, but Odegaard the worst on that list. But if you look, 33 goals, 23 assists. He's actually coming out, unlike the other players, with more goals than assists. The other players all got more assists than they did goals. Odegaard actually, you can kind of see that, right? Because he has been someone to hang on the edge of the penalty area. We know the ozone. We talk about that area on the edge of the penalty area, where if it's cut back to Odegaard, he will absolutely bury it. And he's also played significantly less games, and he's quite a bit young. I know Fabregas was very young when he was at Arsenal, but he is still growing and developing, and I actually think with more time that GA per game will start to sort of even out and get closer to the others. Of course, Cazorla does linger a little bit behind Ozil and Fabregas. And then I've got this as well, which is their honours / best finishes at the club. Now, Cesc Fabregas, in fact, every single one of them managed a second place finish. Fabregas got to a Champions League final 2006, winning the FA Cup in 2005, and got to the final of the Carabao Cup. So we went really, really close across all competitions. Cazorla did win the FA Cup, finished second as well. Ozil won the FA Cup, in fact started in 3 FA Cup finals and got to a Carabao Cup final. Odegaard, the best really you got there, okay, semis in the Carabao Cup final, but the big thing is finishing second in the Premier League. But where you can see in the brackets there, I've got the -12, -10, -10 and -5. Those are actually the number of points we were behind first place. And Odegaard actually got the team closer to a Premier League title. So one thing I'll say Odegaard does have over those three, he was part of a team, not just part of a team, a key part of a team and a captain in a team that actually pushed one of the best Premier League teams, in fact Man City's treble winners, closer than actually those three in their Arsenal sides managed to. Ozil and Cazorla finished 10 points behind Leicester City in the title race on 71 points. And Cesc Fabregas, I think it was the 2005 season, finished second. As he got older and better, Arsenal fell further away from the title race. Odegaard is now in a back-to-back title race as captain. I think that's important to know that, okay, he hasn't got a trophy, which all the other three can boast. He did get Arsenal close to the title. I say he did, like, it's not just him and it's not just them, right? Mesut Ozil had an unbelievable set of assists and creativity output and everything. He was brilliant in the season. We finished second to Leicester, but it's worth noting that Odegaard was the closest there. So the question is, how far can Odegaard go? In this list that we're comparing him to, how far can he go? Now, I'm not going to do a rankings, I'll tell you why. Because you can judge it on so many different things. You can judge it on pure talent, you can judge it on what they've achieved for Arsenal, you can judge it on, I don't know, how much they've done at this point and how far they'll go. I think Martin Odegaard has the potential to be looked back on as maybe not the best of the four, because you're talking about one of the Premier League's best ever midfielders, certainly best passers in Cesc Fabregas. You're talking about one of the best number 10s and creators ever in the game in Mesut Ozil. His assist numbers will tell you that. And you're talking about a player in Santi Cazorla. The lot of Arsenal players will tell you he was world class. Like, he goes under the radar for how good he was, and he could have played for most great sides. And actually what's crazy is that he got minutes in a Spain team that boasted Xabi Alonso, Xavi, Iniesta, David Silva, Cesc Fabregas, and he got minutes. He didn't start all the time, Busquets as well. He didn't start, but he got significant minutes in that team, which shows you how good he was. He could hold his own with a legendary team. So Odegaard has a lot of work to do to be in the calibre of those guys, especially when you look at some of the moments they've had. Fabregas, young, I think our youngest ever captain, or one of the youngest, and that Champions League run as well. Mesut Ozil, starting in 3 FA Cup finals and winning them. He brought trophies back. When we signed Mesut Ozil, we were on a 9-year trophy drought. The FA Cups came back. Santi Cazorla scored in a massive FA Cup final turnaround, 2-0 down against Hull, put a free kick in the top corner, started in the final the year after, and has got 2 FA Cup goals to his name as well, but was a big part of Arsenal coming through and getting their first trophy in 9 years. Martin Odegaard, like I mentioned, has captained his team. Well, it's March, but I think it's fair to say that with 10 games to go, we are in the thick of a title race again, and he has captained Arsenal to back-to-back title races. Again, we'll see how this one ends, but I'm confident it will carry on. And he's put in really big performances as well. So, how far can he go compared to these other three? I don't think he... It's very hard, because you look at the assist for Trossard the other day and you go, the talent is undeniable. The work rate, and this is where I talk about the different eras and everything, he is part of a better Arsenal team than I think those three were part of, in my opinion. I mean, Fabregas with the Champions League run, so okay, but then as Fabregas matured, the team got worse. I think Odegaard has the potential to achieve the most of those four. He might still never be seen as Mesut Ozil at his best, because, like I said, chance creation on another planet. And Fabregas was special. Cazorla, I think he will eclipse in terms of maybe quality and achievements, maybe by the time he's done at Arsenal. But I think he can beat all of them for what he achieves at Arsenal. And to do it as captain, that would be massive. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. This isn't a ranking. This isn't a, oh, he's fourth or he's second or wherever amongst these guys. Because I think there's a lot of things you can look at. But I'd love to know your thoughts so you can help me make my mind. Where do you think he is compared to these three? And how far can he go at Arsenal? And do you think, especially with that graphic where I showed you what they've achieved at Arsenal, he's the one that in 2, 3, 4 years' time, you could actually reflect on and go, there's no question his CV reads the most impressive of the four of them. But that also depends on Mikel Arteta, this current Arsenal side, and our ability to continue to progress and build and get better and better and finally get over the line and deliver, because it's been a long, long time since Arsenal have been able to do that. And I just want to say a really big thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, actually hit the links right here to watch more content like this, including my Football First podcast, which drops every Monday to Friday at 6 AM. And I know it's annoying, I am really sorry to have to ask, but if you want to show support to the channel, hitting the like and subscribe buttons help promote the content much more than you could possibly know. Thanks again.